Hello, and welcome back to Hollywood Dish, the show where we dish all things Hollywood. I'm Rebecca North, and joining me as always is my co host, Nicole Rovine. But today, it's not just the two of us. We have a very special guest, the SNL stats legend and self proclaimed Kardashian expert, Rich Tackenberg. Hello,
I
Rich.
still
Hi,
think this
Nicole.
is a booking mistake. I don't understand why I'm here. I think
It's
you
very
wanted me here.
intentional.
I think you wanted me here so you guys could feel better about yourselves, and I will deliver on that expectation.
I mean, we
Perfect.
never
It's
pass up on
actually-
an
it's a
opportunity.
scam.
Yeah,
It's
bring
a
it
scam.
on. Bring
That's
it on.
really what it is.
Yes.
We're testing you. We're scamming you. Be very afraid.
All right. I'm on it.
That's
I'm
all
on
I
it.
can
Let's
say.
do it. Yes.
Let's go.
Yes,
let's
and
go.
Nicole, how are you? Give me your weekly update.
I'm great. You know what? When I really look back at it, I've had a better week than I thought I did. I saw Wicked on Broadway, which is my favorite musical. I hadn't seen it live years and years, probably 8 or 9 years seen it live. And it was just the most amazing experience. I've watched a lot of television. I'm in my Euphoria era. So everyone who was concerned about me in my Succession era and my mental health and my sanity, fear not, because I have a new hyperfixation. It's the same degree of intensity and it's just a new source. So you know what? We're just moving and moving along. Still a little bit crazy, but we have new source material to work with. So that's amazing for me. You know, we can move along hyperfixations in a very natural, healthy manner. And like, what more can you ask for as someone who has a little bit of an intense personality with pop culture consumption like me? I'm feeling amazing. Thank you. How are you, Rebecca?
Well, I'm a lot better now to hear that I don't have to see Succession content on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok every single time I log on from you. And I love Euphoria, so I'm on board with this. I'm good. It's 5 o'clock here in Seattle, which means 2.5 hours till I get to watch Jeopardy and watch Amy Schneider. For those of you who don't know, it's not going to be a story today, but I feel really passionate about sharing that Amy Schneider is, I think today's her 37th consecutive day, which I hope is a win. I don't know yet. I'm sure everyone watching on the East Coast knows by now, but 37th consecutive day, which means if she wins tomorrow on Monday, she'll be the second winner of all time for most consecutive games won. She'll beat out Matt Armadillo, something like that. Matt Armadillo. On Friday, she'll tie him, and I'm just like living for it as someone who watches Jeopardy every single day of my life. This is exciting. And the fact that Jeopardy's in the news is always good. So everything's good over here. How about you, Rich? How are you?
Wait, whoa. Hold on a second. You watch Jeopardy. First of all, before the Amy thing, you've been a Jeopardy fan?
Every single day of my life. And if I'm not like at home, my parents record it. And if not, I Google and find out who won, what's the deal, and like top questions.
So do you have one of those things that we used to call a television?
Yes, I don't pay for cable because I'm cheap. But I got a little like, I forget what it's called, but I just connected it. I get all the free local channels, which is Kimono 4 News.
An
which
antenna?
Is ABC. Antenna, yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, I got an antenna because
I'm
I'm too cheap to pay for cable, but I watch Jeopardy every single night. And if not, I find that like I'm the biggest nerd. And I did, after I graduated college, I was just playing around and like did the college test online and I passed. So I could have been. I'm not smart enough for the adult one yet. I have a few more years I need to practice.
Well, if I was worried about feeling way too old and out of touch, but the fact that you have an antenna on a TV to watch Jeopardy, I'm way more comfortable now. Let's do this.
Yes, that's even more. I think that's even more respectable than if you just had a normal TV. Like having an antenna, like that's effort. That's old school. Like that's extremely cool, and I'm intimidated.
And it's
now.
$15.
So Rich is more comfortable, and I'm less comfortable. Now I'm very intimidated, and I'm a bit scared for myself now because I'm in I don't know where I am. So it's $15.
Gen Z. $15 on Amazon. I was like, I'm not paying for cable.
Wow. You should drop the link and
I
they
will
should sponsor.
I'll
be a
comment
really
it
good
on
influencer for them.
Yeah,
you could get them
TV
a lot of
antennas.
business. TV
like
antennas for But it's
People
cool.
who
I
don't
think you
want to
could make
pay.
it super cool. You could make it such a cool, like, you could frame it as like a smart,
Retro.
savvy, like Gen Z millennial cusp vibe of being really like in the know and also very resourceful. Like, you could
Yeah,
spin it a million
retro.
ways. Yeah.
But I'm afraid that some of the younger listeners says, well, listen to Rebecca, order it, and then try to stick the antenna into the USB-C port of their laptop to try to figure out, how do I get Jeopardy on my laptop? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
That is
fair.
so true. Also,
You have
great
to come with
invention.
yeah. Yes.
Rich, we'll talk after this.
Yes.
Okay,
right.
well, I think let's just dive in. What we do for this is our first guest, and we're so honored that you're here to join us to be our first guest and to give the lay of the land to you and to any new listeners out there or viewers. We'll also be interacting in the chat with people. We start with a cold open and like weekend updates. So the more serious news that is being discussed that we could see having be the cold open or the weekend update discussing it. So this week, shocker, it's COVID. It's typically COVID, but at least this week it's COVID protection. As of January 19th, Americans will be able to have 4 at-home COVID tests shipped to their house for free. The website went live on Tuesday, and the internet is going wild, but also like it's super exciting. I mean, I'm like tapped out of at-home COVID tests, so this was really helpful for me.
Yeah, I think this is like perfect fodder for SNL because I was like digging through memes, as I always do a little bit too much in my day. And it's like this whole concept is just, it's the perfect satire material. It's like you can only get 4. So the best one that Rebecca will like, I think is an America's Next Top Model reference. 5 of you stand before me, but I only have 4 at-home rapid COVID tests in my hands, and it's a picture of Tyra Banks. That one's so good. And of course, a Succession one I picked out because I'm sorry I said I was over it and I lied. I'm a liar. Who gets the 4 COVID tests? And it's a picture of all the Succession characters, and it's like 7 of them in the picture, and we can only choose 4 to win. And then my third one I wanted to bring to the table is somebody goes, and I'll cite these also, and so in the chat, these are not my original ideas. The first meme was at I am Muhair _ on Twitter. The second one was Abby Barr on Twitter. And then this one is Trash Jones on Twitter. And they say, we really told the government we needed COVID tests for free. And all they heard was for free. I mean, Trash Jones, very funny. Yes, that's so good. Funny. For free. That'd be a great rap. Like Chris Redd on SNL this weekend. Any thoughts? Like, for free. It's also a great really good Drake song, For Free, but it's not spelled out for. Like I want Chris Redd to tap into this after his episode last week. Like I want him to take this meme and turn it into something genius and amazing. What do you think, Rich?
Oh, I would love this. This is great. You're right. And I also think this is perfect fodder because for the people that I know that have chosen to not get vaccinated, they don't want to take COVID tests when they're sick because they don't want to have to say that they had COVID. So now it's like, I'm anti-vax and I'm anti-government, but there's free stuff. And do I not get free stuff from the government? Like that's such an interesting quandary. So I feel like it's kind of an idiot test that like, if you can fill out the form and get your COVID test, great. But if you choose not to, you're kind of an idiot by default. So it's like knowing who doesn't get it is just as interesting as who does. I'd love SNL to do something with this. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the other bit of like, well, the other bit of COVID news also is just that the government's like, what are we, like a year, almost 2 years into COVID, and the Biden administration is going to distribute 400 million N95 masks to the public and local pharmacies, health centers for free also. But like, yeah, this is all great, but we're 2 years into a pandemic and just had a major surge. So like now we're getting all of this. Okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, it took a while, but I think if anything, it sounds like now they just have so many resources that have been being produced over this time, and the balance of production and distribution has been a wreck, and people don't know, they haven't known what to do. So now I almost think this is a sign of the pandemic. They can forecast that it's really, we're not going to have a ton more surges and a lot more roadblocks ahead, because if they're ready to distribute all these things that they've been manufacturing over this time, that tells me that it doesn't mean that they're going to be producing more. It's not like everybody woke up and 400 million masks like came out of thin air. Like, this means that they're ready to just dump the supply out into the world, and they're not being as picky and choosy about it anymore. So to me, that's a good sign.
Yeah. And Nicole, you're more of a marketing maven than I am, but I want to pitch you an SNL marketing. Text marketing of the SNL Network podcast placed in reviews for counterfeit N95 masks on Amazon, because all I've spent the last 3 weeks is trying to read reviews of KN95 masks to see which are counterfeit and which are real, and everybody's putting links to other stuff in there. I feel like this is a huge side hustle we can have. We're going to get all the people who desperately want cheap quality black N95 masks to become SNL Network listeners through very discreet linking of our podcast. Throwing it out there.
Okay, noted. Thank you. And you are yourself a marketing maven, because I sense the enthusiasm and the brilliance, and we're gonna work on that.
We'll workshop it. We're
gonna workshop it. Yeah, all night. We're gonna be writing notes. We're gonna figure this out. Beautiful.
Perfect. Love it.
Yeah. So we're thinking back, SNL related. I think that the cold open, it's going to be COVID related. I don't know quite what else. There hasn't been that much else going on. I'd say in pop culture and in politics, it's been a bit slower than usual. So I think they're not going to much outside of COVID to really dive into.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the political and news is more like worldwide, with a lot of stuff happening in Russia and a lot of stuff happening. I do think they could do something with all like the Trump and the judging that's all happening right now, but I think it's still ongoing, that I don't think they want to waste their efforts now rather than next week when things start to wrap up, or we have more of a clear idea of like who's getting in trouble about January 6th and what's happening with everything in Russia. I feel like next week we'll have a lot more to talk about that. But for now, there's nothing like concrete about any of that. So I think a lot of the COVID talk will definitely be the cold open.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be one of the kind of roundtable catch up where we'll do like a Judge Janine or a Britney Spears talk show, which we'll talk about, or something where we can get a couple of different stories in kind of quick segments. And, because you're right, they just did, JAJ just did, the president. So the fact that the president did a huge press conference would be redundant. So I bet we'll get a little bit of a revolving door kind of cold open.
Okay.
Yeah, what a great transition. I know you said Britney Spears, and I know Nicole's been dying to talk about this.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah, really, really good transition.
That was the best we've had.
Best we've had. I'm exploding about this news story. I think most people are kind of spiraling about it as well, also because there isn't that much news happening. Like, I think it's just like a January thing. Like, it's the type of story that there's so much underneath it, and there's so much to think about, and it's like I find myself not that distracted by other things, so I'm just very all in on this. And that is the Britney Spears, Lynn Spears saga, everything going on right now with them. And so as we've known, that Britney Spears had her conservatorship that she was under for a very long time, and the pandemic was partially responsible, I think, for people exposing that, her biggest fans really digging deep and figuring out what was going on there and helping her to get out of it, which now that's in motion, and she has this freedom that she hasn't had in years and years. But her sister, who is best known for starring on Zoe 101, which I know Rebecca and I watched back in the day. I don't know, were you a Zoe 101 guy, Rich?
If you mean heard of it, no. I mean, I have an idea of what it is. It sounds like a class that I failed in college years ago. No, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. It was a good like teen show back. I don't know how old we were, Rebecca, but it was like, it was the kind of thing where it was teenagers and we were like a few years younger than them at the time. And so it was this very aspirational, cool kind of thing for us when we were little.
Went to boarding school. They went to boarding school, and it's actually based in Pepperdine, so it's gorgeous. It's in California, so that's where it was like filmed and kind of based after. But it was a boarding school, and it was just like, I'm gonna go to high school in a few years, and my high school is not gonna be this cool on Long Island. So it was kind of just, it was like a fantasy high school experience, but they were in boarding school. I don't know, but she kind of got her claim to fame. And then the show ended up being canceled when Jamie Lynn Spears got pregnant really young.
Right.
So
yeah, she was 16. And so that changed the course, I'd say, of her career. She decided to have the baby. She got married young, and her life and Britney's lives, they were both in the industry. They're about 10 years apart, but that was a juncture where their lives definitely kind of took different turns. And Britney continued to be very famous, except we now know there was a lot more going on underneath that. But anyway, so the story is Jamie Lynn Spears has published a book right now, which the timing just feels very cringy, and it feels like she's trying to capitalize on Britney's trauma and Britney's pain and insert herself into a narrative where people have considered her to be one of the perpetrators of a lot of the abuse and the trauma. Other people think we don't have enough information to deem her a perpetrator of abuse or anything along those lines. There was a rumor that, or it was published in online, that the title of the book was going to be I Must Confess, which is a Britney lyric. And then it turned out that that wasn't supposed to be right, but it's just this kind of sticky thing of, is someone lying here? Were you just trying to test the waters, throw a story out there to get, but whatever. So that happened. So now the book is out and people are talking about it. And I have so many mixed feelings. I've been listening to all of the coverage. She's been doing a lot of interviews. She did the Call Her Daddy podcast. And I have a lot of theories about this, but just like baseline, what's everybody's feelings about Jamie Lynn and her current, what she's up to with her book promotion in the context of the Britney Spears conservatorship ending and the freedom and the Britney being she's kind of like the people's princess in a lot of ways, like Princess Diana, like Tom Wamsgans. That's another Succession reference. 2 so far. I'm hoping I'll cap it at 5 by the end of this. But she's like the people's princess. And I think it's hard for us to want to insert another person into that when we're really trying to focus on Britney, because she's always been like our hero. So it's I have so many mixed feelings, but I'll leave it for now. What's everybody's take on this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, she is capitalizing on all of Britney's years and years of trauma. And as messed up as all of that is, at that rate, like it was supposed to, the name of the book was supposed to be I Must Confess. And she's already diving really deep into the whole capitalizing on all her sister's trauma. Like, why change it? Just be like, yeah, own it. If you're going to do it, own it. Like you can't mend your relationship with her now after contributing to a lot of the conservatorship or not fighting for her. And if you're going to do it, your relationship's not mending. So if I were her, I would just like full send it. I mean, like ride this train and do it. Well, I don't agree with everything she's doing, but she's doing enough. She's going on podcasts, and then the podcasts are using her, like Call Her Daddy, for a 2-part episode with like all the drama. It's a little desperate, but like, I mean, if you're gonna do it, just live up to it and just say, yeah, fine, I must confess. That's the title of the book. And like, justice for Britney Spears always. Like, this is never ending. She's freed. Like, she's freed, but she can't go anywhere without talking about this. And Rich, I'm so curious what you think.
Well,
yeah, what do you think?
To say that I would be lost is an understatement. Now, I do know all about Britney Spears because I saw the documentary and stuff, but I can't get my head around. So help me with this. Before any of this, were you pro Jamie Lynn Spears or not? Or like, what did we think about her as a group before she weighed in on this?
Yeah, I think as a group, it was more like her dad was the main criminal and her mom and Jamie Lynn Spears were just kind of bystanders. So I don't think anyone thought that they were like directly doing stuff, when now it kind of turns out she was kind of benefiting from the whole conservatorship. But it was more just like, do something. Like, no one was team Jamie Lynn Spears because she just watched as all this happened to her sister, or like, so we thought. Like, it wasn't as evil as like her dad, but now looking at it, it kind of is.
Yeah. And I think the thing people are finding is she's only really ever spoken at convenient times, and you can't find evidence of her doing something in her sister's favor that is going against any sort of selfish desires. Anything that you can find that she's doing something for her sister, it's linked to something for herself. It's hard to make the argument that she has ever really tried for her sister. But then on the other hand, the problem with someone like Alex Cooper on Call Her Daddy giving Jamie Lynn Spears a platform to speak is that when you're a podcast interviewee, and you get the chance to just speak one-on-one with someone, that humanizes you. It's hard unless you are very enraged and impulsive in the way that you present yourself. I'd say 8 times out of 10, 7, 8 times out of 10, you're going to come off as more of a sympathetic, empathetic character after being interviewed in that context than before. It just humanizes. You get to hear that person's perspective. And that's why I'm frustrated that she got the platform on Call Her Daddy, which is a huge platform worth millions of dollars for Spotify. It's huge. And they only, whereas Joe Rogan is multiple times a week, Call Her Daddy pretty much is once a week. So and it's one guest per episode. So every single guest is a big deal. It's a huge decision. They're not just having tons of people in and out of there. Every guest is a huge guest by definition of the way they operate that show. So that's what's hard for me is after listening to the interview, I have more empathy for Jamie Lynn Spears and I understand where she's coming from, but I didn't really want to be feeling that way. And I think that she isn't the person that should be being centered so much. But then we need to remember I think most people agree that the parents in the situation are the most, they are harmful and abusive, and they were all raised by the same parents. So I guess we see there's some understanding there that it's not just that Britney was the only victim involved. But I'm a little bit frustrated at myself even for seeing the empathy when I do want this to be focused on Britney, and I don't want other people in her orbit to be trying to clear their name for some quick cash or to try to clear their name just because it's convenient or whatever it may be. So that is where I'm a bit in a bind.
I also really question Jamie Lynn on a subconscious level because, if you want to clear your name and distance yourself from the father of the family that was really just, did all these horrible things, do you really go on a podcast named Call Her Daddy? Isn't that subconsciously kind of in your hand that you're actually pro the father who was the evil conservator? I call foul.
I did not see. I have not thought about that.
This is why we knew that you would get it, because you see things, Rich, that people who just listen to Call Her Daddy like over and over, like they don't. We need to step outside the box and hear you say stuff like that because you're so right. You're very right. Alex Cooper, she's tried to kind of reclaim the trope of, men and daddy and all that stuff by calling herself daddy. But it's kind of the same thing. The power structure. She's still this huge, big machine, kind of sold herself. And I say this respectfully, but like sold herself to Spotify for millions of dollars. And it was a great deal. And now she's probably the richest, most powerful woman in podcasting of all time. So she's a businesswoman first and foremost, and she makes these decisions about who she's going to have on for business reasons. And so she might be a woman reclaiming that trope of daddy, but it's still the trope in action. So I really am glad that you said that. Now I'm like thinking about it a lot.
I mean, I could go on and on about what I think about Call Her Daddy and all things Barstool to begin with, but I'm curious, Nicole, did you listen to the podcast?
I did. I also, speaking of Barstool, quick sub story with them. They posted something about SNL actually, about, it was just a very mean-spirited, immature. It sounded like it was written by Donald Trump. That's the only way I can describe the way it was written. It was just very childish and like not well written at all. And they use the phrase, they do this a lot apparently, rolling in his grave to describe people who are still alive. And so they were talking about how bad SNL is. And they said, Eddie Murphy is rolling in his grave. And it's like, stop doing that. Why are you trying to jinx it? It's like, reserve that phrase for people who are in a grave. Like, you don't have to really keep on doing that. And it was very childish. I just had to bring that up because I was just stunned at the immaturity, frankly, of the way that was written and the, like,
so you're saying Bleacher Report is immature? Is that a hot take? I feel like that's the take, right? That is the brand
for Barstool. That is
Barstool. Sorry, Barstool. Yeah,
Barstool. Yeah. The thing about them also is they benefit from me saying what I just said. Is they they like that controversy feeding into it, having people like me be all like up in arms about like, oh, you're calling an alive person dead, like, you know, and they benefit from having people like me be all like sad and sensitive and pissed off about it, because it just boosts them, you know, when I'm talking to my friends about it and talking here about it, that only benefits them, unless they're doing something extremely harmful. Anytime someone talks about them in any capacity, they're benefiting, and that's their brand and their model of business. It's controversy. They thrive on light controversy like that. It's the perfect example for them of just a little seed that's going to rub people the wrong way, and then it has the internet talking for really no good reason. So business.
John clarified. They thought they got confused between Gumby and Eddie Murphy. So
we could say
makes
that.
sense.
We could. That's a very
definitely
generous take. Totally.
Yes. I mean, the good news of all of this, Jamie Lynn Spears and Britney, just to bring it back, is Britney is finally doing something about it, which I'm just happy to see, because during the conservatorship, she was never able to do anything. And now we're seeing what freedom is like for Britney Spears in the year 2022. I was going to say 2020 and just end it there, but 2022. And Britney sent her sister a cease and desist letter demanding she stop talking about her on her book tour. But that is more of a legal stance after Britney took to Instagram to share her initial response and said, Jamie Lynn, I wasn't strong enough to do what I should have done. Slapped you and mama right across your fucking faces. And go off. She deserves to. And like, let her go on social media. Let her do a cease and desist. I'm just happy she's able to take legal action. Finally, like able to have some sort of freedom. She's able to post that on Instagram. So that is the only positive thing I've gotten out of the stories all week, is Britney has a voice now and she's using it.
Do we think there's a chance that we get an actual Britney Spears cameo on SNL at some point? Because it seems like a perfect drop-in. It seems like I don't think they would book her as a guest in a second, but I'm guessing that she might not be up for hosting the whole show. But as a cameo, especially if you do the Britney Spears talk show and then have as a guest Britney Spears, chef's kiss. How great would that be?
I would love it. And I do think we're getting to the point in Britney's life and in the SNL climate of the way they've addressed Britney, that I think it would be 100. Yes, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Okay, good.
I love that. Yeah. And
all right, let's go to our next one.
Similar news. Yeah,
very
really similar
news.
Exactly the same. Wordle. I'm sure if you have a Facebook or Twitter or I guess Instagram or TikTok, any form of social media, you've heard about Wordle. And it's taken the world by storm. I was reading something that in November, it's an app for background. It's an app where you guess. It's a word app that this engineer, Josh Wardle, who's a software engineer in Brooklyn, created for his partner. His partner loves games. It was the pandemic, and just coded this type of guessing game where you guess it's a 5-letter word, and if it's yellow, like you guess it, it's a grid, so it's a 5x6 grid. You guess a word, which I always start with ado because it has a lot of vowels in it, and it shows yellow if the letter is in the word, black if the letter is not the word, and green if it's in the right position in the word. And you get 6 different tries to guess it correctly, and overnight, it has taken the Wordle by storm. Thank you, John, for that in the comments. It really has. Are you guys playing it?
Yep, every day.
So I was playing it, and I could not, for like 2 or 3 days, I thought it was the most boring freaking game I've ever played in my life. And I would open the app and I would be like, I don't get it. And I don't understand why people are posting colored boxes. And it took me 3 days to realize I wasn't playing the Wordle that everyone else was playing. I was playing an app that was a clone that somebody posted a fast crap word game under the name Wordle. And I didn't even know it's not an app, it's a website. And so I came late to Wordle, but now I am playing it. Yes.
Yes, that was an issue, and people were like, and turn it, because it's not an app, it's just a website. So there have been multiple instances of people taking it and turning it into an app and profiting off of it, which I guess intellectual property on the internet, I think, is close to dead. I don't know how that's going to be sustainable. I'm the least, I think, tech educated person on this call, but
if I
both
got
would know
into
better
it,
than
you would
me.
be really bored. You would be really, really bored if I got into the intellectual property of it.
Yeah.
But the fun thing is exactly to Rich's point, Wardle pitched this game to his friends in 2013, and they said, no one's going to like this. And then in the pandemic, he just created it. And I think what kind of made it go, I think it was like 90 players on it to like hundreds of thousands, like in the course of like a few weeks, was that you have that social media feature. When Wardle figured out that people were really into this game, he gave an option where you're able to share it without spoiling it. So the way you do it is the boxes are black, green, and yellow, and you're able to just like export whatever score you get for the day onto your Facebook and Twitter. And then everyone's like, what are these dots? Literally, just as Rich was saying. And I had the same like bootleg app too before, and I was like, this isn't fun. And I'm someone that does, shocker, you guys are gonna learning about all the inner nerd in me this episode. I do like the New York Times daily crossword and the mini and the spelling bee every single day. And I love that type of daily time it, like right in my group chat with my mom, dad, and sister and say, this is how quick I did. This is how many tries I did. So it's just that kind of excitement that's so simple, but we're talking about it.
I agree. And I like it because it's different from anything else of its kind, except I guess New York Times, that all of those games are a little bit like this, but there's only one answer every day and one opportunity to play every single day. And so it's striking this very different model of it's more of like a routine than an addiction based. So it's not like a Candy Crush or Subway Surfers or I do like Words with Friends and my Game Pigeon on my phone. I'm addicted to those word games. And so those are all, you can do as many as you want all day, every day. And it's like feeding off of our addiction like cycles and just the humanity of like addiction, of being like, oh, I can do this all the time. I'm going to get the highest score and do it faster than everyone else. And but this is like, you only have one chance. And so for me, I find like it's like something I do at like 12:17 a.m. because I go to bed later than I wish I did, and I'm always up at 12:17 a.m. And so it's just nice. It's like a routine thing. Like when the clock strikes 12 and it's a new day, I'm like, oh, here we go. I have something to look forward to, to like keep me over the edge of the hump of the day if I need to like stay up a little late to like get work done or whatever. And I feel like it's everyone. What I like about it is it's so ingrained in everyone's routine who does it, like whether you're like a 12:17 a.m.er like me, or you do it at the at the like breakfast table, or you do it on your lunch break. Like everybody has their routine about it, and it's like unifying, but it's also very unique because everyone puts it into their lives however they want to, and I really am enjoying it.
I agree. I mean, what you guys were saying, I think the genius of it more than anything was those stupid colored boxes, because people post about everything on Facebook, Instagram. I don't care. I don't have time for any of this crap. But seeing those green and yellow and black boxes, like, what the fuck is that? Like, what are you guys doing? And I sought it out, not because I wanted to be part of the pop culture, because I just wanted to understand what those stupid boxes were. But I love the community of it. It reminds me a little bit of when HQ Trivia was taking off, how like everyone thought it was stupid, then everyone kind of started watching, but it's not time dependent. And it's this nice, simple thing we can all do. And it doesn't mean anything, but I will tell you something. Today, on my fourth guess, I put the T in the first position, even though I had already put the T in the first position earlier and it was yellow. And I almost threw my laptop across the room because a friend of mine who I barely knew in high school 22 years ago solved it in 3. And that was my third guess that I wasted. And I was furious at myself. So screw you, Wordle.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a fun craze. And I mean, when we could talk about something just stupid and fun like that, I love it. And
same.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just look up Wordle. I mean, give Wardle the credit he deserves, because he's not getting paid off of this at all. So, I mean, share this with your friends. And when it does become an app or something where he can profit, download it and support him, because I have a soft spot in my heart for software engineers and the people who work so hard to do this. So definitely support him.
You mean
in any
software
way.
engineers? She means software engineers, of whom
I'm
she's
not.
one.
I'm not a software engineer. I'm really close.
You're
to
basically.
basically.
You're like super close.
I'm an engine nerd. Yeah.
Yes. In my mind, how I perceive things, like it's all the same. It's like the tech nerds are in this category that I really respect and I aspire to, and it's all the same. And I'm very impressed with everyone. It's all this bubble to me, and I'm just good for you.
Rebecca and I are going to discuss it more on our new spinoff podcast, Hollywood IP Dish. It's a very, very specific spinoff podcast. It'll be great.
It'll be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plugging in. Yes. All right. We're going to do another little pivot. And it's going to be, so the thing about this podcast is we find it very, very difficult not to have Kardashian adjacent news. I don't think we will ever have an episode where we do not talk about the Kardashians. And we're big fans of them, but we also, I think we're big fans of a wide variety of things, Rebecca. Like, it's not just that's our ride or die, it's just that the Kardashians, what's very magical about them is they really are always newsworthy and they are always making headlines. And the other thing about them is they are connected to everyone. They are kind of the epicenter of pop culture. So any name, like, you can kind of find a way to bring it back to them. And these two names that are in the news, it's one person who is also pretty much always making the rounds on this podcast that we talk about. So these two people are very close to the Kardashians, and that would be, you want to guess, Rich? Or no, we talked about it. I won't.
I know. I only know from you. Trust me, I only know because you told me ahead of time.
Because we told you. Okay.
Yeah.
So it has to do with Pete Davidson and Kanye West, or excuse me, Ye. Legally, Ye. That is his name now. I don't know if you heard, Rich, but Ye is his name. So if you
I only know this from last week's Hollywood Dish podcast. It's the only way I know. Yes.
Yep.
Glad we could educate. Educate. But yeah, so everyone listening, if you didn't hear us last week, call him Ye, because Wikipedia does. His girlfriend of, at this point, 2 weeks or so, when we were talking about it last week, it was girlfriend of 5 days. Everybody close to him, far from him, everyone between, call him Ye. That's his name. Anyway, so we've all been kind of at the edge of our seats wondering, like, who's going to talk about the whole Pete and Kim thing and the Kanye and Julia thing, and these two emerging very newsworthy, interesting relationships of these recently divorced, mid-process of divorced, extremely famous billionaire couple of Kim and Ye. And so Kanye made a strike, if you want to call it that. And some lyrics were released on this new song with The Game called Easy. So he's airing out his family drama, family laundry. And he said, I don't know if I want to use the slight curse words here. I think it's okay. Just, fast forward if you're like in the car with your kids. So he says in these new lyrics, God saved me from that fatal crash just so I can beat Pete Davidson's ass. From the best lyrical rapper, musician, genius of our times. Yay. That's what he has to say about Pete Davidson in the context of Pete's relationship with the mother of his 4 children, Kim Kardashian. What's everybody think?
You want to start with me? That's insane.
Sure.
Here's my all right.
I wanted to hear it.
Here's the perspective, the question that I have for you guys, because you guys are Kim Kardashian fans. Bless you. When she decided to marry Kanye, did either of you actually think that's going to end well? Yeah, I think that'll be okay. That's not going to be a fucking traffic accident. What did you guys think when it was good?
I was shocked. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I never thought it would work out. And we've seen Kim Kardashian have a few marriages or engagements. And I was like, oh, this is just going to be short. But the second they had 4 kids together, and Kim went through a lot with her pregnancies, and like they had a surrogate. So they were fully committed to this. So I honestly thought they were just like end game at this point. Like, Kim has defended Ye in so many different ways. That felt so weird. In so many different ways, and a bunch of different things that have happened. And I was like, this is it. They're meant for each other, clearly. But I was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
I think
bizarre
for me,
to
you
me.
have to think of the context, and they're both, well, really, Kim is very humble about the way she talks about their beginnings, and she said so many times that she would never have been regarded as a fashion icon if not for Kanye. She wouldn't have been invited to the Met Gala if not for Kanye. And now it's like it sort of feels like Kanye might not be invited without Kim as of, a year, 2 years ago. And Kanye's place in the fashion world really allowed Kim to be respected on this other level. And she was kind of frowned upon as this like C-list reality star, assistant to Paris Hilton for a long time. And then she kept growing a bit. And then Kanye was really this stamp of approval, because we have to think of the context. At the time, Kanye was not considered he was the geniusness of him was much more just permeating the discourse around him than maybe the concerns about his mental health and more erratic behaviors. Like that wasn't as much what people were talking about. It was just, he is the rapper. He's the best rapper of our time.
This was pre-Red Hat. That's how I think of that period for him.
Yes.
There you go. Bingo.
Yes.
This was, like early, like 2010, 11, 12, 13. They'd been friends for a long time, but like the early stages of their romance, like 8, 9 years ago. And it was like Kanye was the biggest deal. And it was Kim who people were kind of like, oh, like she's with him. And now it's like that they've kind of flipped that script the last few years. And you can even see that on SNL, like the impressions of both of them. It was always like Kim was the dud who was just, and it was a great impression. Draw is amazing, but she was portraying a version of Kim that now I think even very casual Kardashian viewers would agree it is a bit more reductive than the type of portrayal of Kim that we are comfortable with or that we're interested in at this point in time. So it's just interesting to think of the context then. So I was, if anything, surprised, because I was like, oh, like a reality star, like, okay, Kanye, sure. And then all of a sudden she's blossomed into something that is totally in a league of her own. And so it's just their journey together has been fascinating. And I think that she will always be really indebted to him for a lot of her career. And I just love how she's very aware of that and like never denies that. She's amazing, but she also really like acknowledges that.
Yeah, I mean, her career path is very different than most. It went from movie star to reality TV star to now just influencer. So usually it's the opposite. But I mean, the lyrics are good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, that's really smart. And Kanye is he's a genius in all that aspect. Like, he's good with lyrics, and he knows the second he wrote Pete Davidson in a song, and it wasn't even his song, like, he knew it was going to make the news. He knew it was going to blow up, and he knows how to do it. Like, he knows what's up. The song dropped the same week that it was announced he was headlining Coachella. Like, he's very calculated for someone you wouldn't think is in that way. And I mean, the song is actually good all around if you listen to it. But I was just waiting to hear Pete Davidson come out of his mouth.
Well, now I have a question for you guys about that. What I know about Kanye West can fit on a pin, but I have this vague memory that at some point Kim Kardashian leaked audio that showed that his beef with Taylor Swift was actually pre-planned by the two of them to give both of them publicity. If I understand the story right, is that possibly, I mean, I absolutely could see Pete Davidson playing that game. I love Pete, but I don't think that he's above that at all. Any chance that that's what's going on here?
I would say that there's a bit of a connection between these two simultaneous romances and the respective reactions to them, how Kim and Pete are or are not reacting, and then how Julia and Ye are or aren't reacting. And I think that's just the name of the game. Like you said, that whole situation with Taylor Swift was, even to this day, it is a mystery, and that's part of the allure of it, is like everyone has a different account of it, and you can argue in favor of anyone involved in that situation. And there are still the facts. Some facts are there, some facts are completely nowhere to be found. And that's the magic of, I think, these celebrities who know how to spin their lives into news. And so I think Pete on some level, I think, is having fun with that, and like, who can blame him?
I'm going to disagree. I don't think so, because that's a great conspiracy theory, but Kim is so protective of her kids, and this has to do with their father and Pete David. Like, I don't think she would play that type of game because North is old enough to know about everything. And I think she's so protective over her kids that if it were anything to do with Kanye and even like putting her kids at risk that way, like even if Kanye's in on it, and if it's anything to put her kids at risk, I don't think she would be involved in that. But there's more Kanye drama to all of this besides just the lyrics, which do probably state that it's a little more real than not. And it's that Kanye was on social media claiming to not be invited to his daughter Chicago's 4th birthday party after Kanye appeared in an interview claiming that his estranged wife now, Kim Kardashian, was keeping him from seeing his children. Kanye ended up showing up at the party after receiving the address from Travis Scott, which is probably my favorite part of the whole story because it's so good. And the source close to Kim said that a lot of Kanye's claims are false. Kim's security didn't stop him from seeing the kids. He just can no longer walk inside her home without his permission because she has the right to boundaries and privacy. So, I mean, I think Kim again is now just keeping it calm, and I don't think she would not let Kanye come to her kid's birthday party. And actually, she claimed that he was like invited. So I'm curious what you think. It's a lot. It was a lot of the news was like going back and forth, and I was like, this is fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, you go, Rich. I want to hear.
No, I was just gonna say, if you told me this was a story about something that happened on the colonization of Mars, I'd be like, yeah, all right, sure, because this is the most insane. But you know, when I'm hearing it, it just reminds me of something Rebecca said, that I don't know what's real. I couldn't possibly guess, but Kanye is choosing to make a story involving his kids a news story, and that is icky to me. That's unfortunately icky. Even if it's true, there are other channels other than public media when your kids probably go to school and have friends that follow all this stuff. And that's unfortunate to hear.
Yes, and that's a line that Kanye has crossed many times. That something Kim, of all the lines that she'll play with in her public persona, like her family really is one she's very mature and respectful about. Kanye, I cannot say the same. He's done this before. He's like made some crazy tweets about, you know, kids and like the roasting his kids, like what the Stormy one a few years ago. Like I don't even remember what was real and what was it like turned into a meme, but he was like roasting Kylie's child, who at that point was like 18 months old, I want to say. And like, so he's just, when it comes to the kids, I think he can lose sight of that boundary in a way that Kim, and honestly, I think there were many breaking points, as she said on SNL. The thing it came down to was his personality. I think there were a lot of things that it came down to, but I do think the kids and the way that he handles their kids in the way he portrays himself in the media, like, had to have been top of the list.
Yeah, I completely agree.
In fairness, and maybe Kylie's 18-year-old month child deserved it. Maybe he was the victim and the child was the bully. It could be. If
anyone's gonna be a bully, it's gonna be Stormy. So yeah, I do agree.
So you can't argue with that one. Yeah. Stormy's gonna storm. Stormy's gonna storm. She's gonna drop that rain. All right. So we had our obligatory Kardashian news of the week. I do not foresee any weeks where the Kardashians don't come up. It's going to happen every time. It happens. And we're going to embrace that all together. And then we have one fun, quick little story that we wanted to bring up, especially because we are on the SNL Network, rather. And that is the news broke today that Anna Kendrick and former cast member Bill Hader have been quietly dating for about a year now. Quietly, secretly, casually, whatever you want to call it, dating. And it is just kind of a random news story that broke today. And the source claimed that they're really happy and it's been easy to keep it casual and quiet because of COVID. So it's not like they've been hiding per se, more so that it's like they can kind of enjoy privacy without really trying that hard in these times. So I want to hear what you have to say, both of you, what your thoughts are on this, and then I'll give mine.
I like it. I mean, Anna Kendrick is funny. Bill Hader's funny. They're both attractive. Like, I really don't see any problem in it. Like, the fact that they were able to keep it under wraps for a year, like, to me, and I don't know, this is just my opinion, I think that means that they're probably genuinely happy. They're not doing this for attention. They kept it under wraps. It's just the two of them for a year together, dating. And I mean, I like it. I would love to like sit in on their dinner conversations. And this is a couple I'm rooting for. And I hope works out. And I hope that all this news and gossip is true, because I really have no problems with this relationship.
Here's the thing. I'm an adult. I have a big job. I have family. I have responsibilities. There is no logical reason why I should care that two celebrities are dating. And yet, anytime I hear that two separate celebrities that I like separately are dating, I have this tween stan glee that comes. They've been shipped, or whatever the right term is you kids use. I'm so happy. It just makes me so happy to just think of them just hanging out, making each other laugh over the dumbest things, and maybe singing a cappella with plastic cups or something. Like, I'm so happy to hear this. It's such a fun thing. And I'm a huge Bill Hader fan. That's not a shock to anybody. I don't think anyone on an SNL podcast isn't a huge Bill Hader fan, but boy, I love the idea of those two together. That just seems like such a fun couple. So yeah, very happy about that.
We knew you belonged on this podcast. We knew
exactly.
you were. Yes, we knew. I love the
enthusiasm.
Bella's
on Urban Dictionary right now, like literally on Urban Dictionary right now, being like, "What is the thing when young people like a celebrity couple together?" Oh, ship.
I was surprised I remembered the term. I thought I think I confused. They're percolating around. That's all I know. Yeah.
Yes. I'm so impressed. And then there are really great metaphors to use with ships of, like, you know, if you really love a couple, you build the ship, it's in the port, are you going to have it go to sea? Like, it's this kind of never ending thing. It's the perfect, I think it originated on Tumblr, right? The phrase ship.
Yes. I think it's like,
that's the first time I heard it.
Me too. I think it was like a deep Tumblr, like, situation, but I've only ever used shipped in celebrities. I would never say it about like two of my friends that are dating. I would never be like, oh yeah, I ship them.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's like a parasocial thing. Like when it's like a celebrity couple, or I find like I use it more about fictional couples than celebrities themselves. Like I use it more like Chuck and Blair on Gossip Girl was my like OG ship. Or again, Succession, I have my ships.
I knew it was coming.
That's number 3. Number 3.
Okay,
I think I'll leave
we
it
don't have
at 3
that much more
for the
time.
day. Yeah. It's
what do you
gonna
think?
Be 3.
Do you like this, Nicole? You haven't
Do I
given your
ship it?
opinion.
Yeah. I mean, Anna Kendrick, here's the thing about her. She bothers me a little bit, and I've realized the reason. The reason is that she reminds me of myself. Like an annoying theater kid who like just is very enthusiastic and like thinks they're funny, and actually I think is funny. I think I'm a little bit funny, but it's like nerdy funny, and just like, so I'm realizing like she kind of rubs me the wrong way, but I think that's just an internal thing that I have to look inward to myself and be like, you know what, I don't have a problem with her. I just have to deal with my own insecurities, and I have to embrace being a theater kid. Maybe I need to do like a visceral exercise of like doing the cup song and like really channeling her as her, you know, in her spirit, and then I can respect her. Once I respect myself more, then I can respect her more. That's where I'm at. And then of course fair. I'm a big Bill Hader fan. And I
oh my god, I feel like I'm shipping Nicole and Nicole's inner self.
Oh, that's really sweet. My therapist would love to hear that.
I mean, try out the cup song, send us a video. I do have a large repertoire of videos of me doing the cup song when I was younger. I'm not a singer, may I preface that, but I thought I was doing the cup song. So I wonder if I sent them to Bill Hader, if like he would date me.
I feel like that is the ultimate Patreon member bonus is videos of Rebecca doing the cup song when she was a kid.
Down.
I'm in.
That is
I'm
the
donating
least
right
embarrassing video I have from when I was a kid. So I'm trying to share that one. I would make music videos galore in my room alone. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
and like photo booth ones with your friends. I did that. Like while I was at my house, they were at their house, like separate filming, and then we would combine.
Yeah, you deep faked each other onto the same screen. But yeah, I was super excited to hear about that news today, and excited to get to talk to you guys about it today. And that being said, a thing that we love to do here, started last week, is go through all of the things that we talked about, and every person gets just one answer. Say what of all the things you think about will be mentioned on SNL this weekend. So just as a reminder, we talked about all the COVID protection, Britney, Jamie Lynn, Wordle, Kanye, Pete Davidson, and then Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader. So Nicole, why don't you go first? What do you think will be on SNL this week?
Whew, okay. Here's what I think. I mean, I'm gonna skip COVID because it's gonna come up. It's in some capacity. I'm gonna say Britney Spears and Jamie Lynn, and I say this mostly because it would be just so glaring to avoid it at this point because it's really like consuming pop culture right now. And I think that it would be like we talked a little bit last week about making these decisions in less strategic OGS and stats way of like high risk, high reward. And I think I chose a safer route last week. And this week I'm going with a more like the kind of story that I think is a little more sensitive and hard to joke about at this juncture in time and like this point. But I just think like if they skip it again, or I don't know, I don't think it was really addressed last week, right? But yeah, so I think it's time, and especially with like Chloe being on Update last week as Elmo, I think I speak for a lot of us that we were thinking that if Chloe on Update would be Britney related, and at that point, and we also know like Pete Davidson had something on Update, and it ended up not making air, so like that in my mind, I was like, okay, so maybe he had something about his personal life that we've been waiting for months now. So I guess that was kind of I'm cheating, and I just said two things. You know what? I'm gonna hold my original. I'll say Britney.
Okay, Rich.
See, I got to differentiate between the co's and the woos because you've got cold open, you've got weekend update. Because I see Pete coming on to talk about this as a woo, but then as a co, I feel like this. I don't think it's going to be Britney yet. I think we're a week or two away. I'm going to go COVID as the cold open. But of everything, I would say I think it's going to be Pete Davidson on Weekend Update talking about Kanye.
Yeah, that's good. I do agree. I think they'll wait a little more for the Britney stuff because, like, honestly, when you have a story that's just moving this quickly and this fast paced, there's only going to be more content and more content by next week. So I'm going to say Wordle. And I'm going to say that, like, it's a little bit of a riskier choice, but I really think, like, it would be such a missed opportunity to not just, like, do Wordle, or even if they just bring it up on Update or just make a reference to it. I have a feeling we'll hear about Wordle at some point. It would be cool if they made it into a full game show, but I don't think they'll give it that airtime.
I think I think Weekend Update, I think there's a punchline where there will be a 5-letter curse word with one letter missing and or 2 letters mixed and they're yellow. I think that's a good Che joke. I could definitely see that coming.
Yeah, batch.
Yeah. There you go. You know what's 5 letters is a word that doesn't matter anymore because now it's 2 letters. Kanye is 5 letters. So maybe it could be something where like Kanye is on Chris Redd is doing his Kanye, and it's like they're choosing him for Wordle, but even though I guess it's a proper noun, but it's some joke about how that's not his name and he doesn't fit into the mold of Wordle, and he's his own entity, and he's an enigma, and he cannot fit into the structure of 5 letters. I don't know.
I love the idea. I love the idea of Pete Davidson coming on as himself paired with Chris Redd as Kanye. That would be a nice feature. How nice of a feature would that be?
I also would not be surprised if we saw that this week, next week, or ever.
And Chris had his best episode ever last week. Like, he's on a roll. I want to just like when someone has their best episode ever, and then it ends with you wanting so much more of them. Like that's where we're all at with Chris. I feel like he killed it last week, and now I want more and more of him. Like more big roles. Like he bring back his Kanye. It's time. And I think there's like a fun way to do it. And then of course like Will Forte, I don't know. I think he could somehow, like, it would be like almost ironic and funny for him to insert himself into the Kardashian drama somehow. Like I
want him to play Pete.
That'd be kind of fun.
And then Pete play someone else. I love when they do. I love when they like.
Me too. Oh, it's my favorite. Okay,
it like kills
playing
me.
Pete. There we go. And then Pete will
Pete
play
playing like Chicago for her birthday. I don't know.
Okay. Sure.
I can't think of a role for him in this situation unless he plays like Travis Barker in some sort of sketch that is a very Pete-esque character, aka no personality and tattoos. So
yeah. Yeah. All right. Any other predictions?
no,
We're good. I feel
good.
like we aired a lot out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. I want to go through a little bit of what's coming up with us, and then we'll hear a little bit more from Rich after that about what your experience was like, your first Hollywood Dish episode. Before we do that, I just quickly want to just kind of jump into what we have coming up next on the SNL Network. So we have Will Forte coming up. He's hosting this week. We're all very excited. It's going to be just like the sweetest homecoming ever. So deserved. Can't wait. So of course, like the coverage as usual, we've got our hot take show on Saturday night right after the show. It's the best place to be. It's the after show. If you can't make it into the real life after show, where it's a pretty close second, I think, from your, sitting in your bed on your computer or your screen, just come hang with us and type in the chat what you think of the episode.
I've heard crazy stories about the SNL Network after party.
Yes. Oh, don't spread rumors now. Be careful. We keep it under wraps. It's pretty crazy.
All the rumors are true.
Okay. If I didn't say it, Rebecca said it. You didn't hear it from me. You heard it from my co-host. Yeah, we do have a lot of fun. I'm going to be on that one. So tune in if you like me. And if you don't like me, there's 3 other people there too. So, you win either way. You love me, hate me. There's someone for you. Then as always, also, we have the roundtable on Monday, which will be a more in-depth discussion of the episode. And then we've got our patron feedback show coming up later in the week. On Wednesday, and that's going to be basically the patron feedback show. It's an opportunity for someone who's with us on Patreon, who's a subscriber on Patreon, to be on the podcast. So you're going to be talking with John, our usual co-host, who we kick off on Thursdays when we do Hollywood Dish, and you just talk to John about whatever you want, pretty much the past episode, the upcoming episode of SNL. It's really fun. It's always really fun to listen to for me too. So that's going to be really great. And then we're back on Thursday. Hollywood Dish will be back and kicking a week from today. So we've got a lot of content coming up as always. So stay tuned. Yeah. Rich, how was your experience? What do you think?
I think I can finally exhale. I think I held my own talking about Dish. Thank you for humoring me. I mean, having me on the podcast. This was so much fun. This was really great.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. You're our first guest and a really, really good one. And we definitely would love to have you back sometime. But so thank you for joining us. Sure. Thank you, everyone in the chat and any listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next Thursday.